In this podcast, I interview Alexi Coffey, and he is one of the few people I've met in the remote sales space that consistently crushes it month on month, year after year. But he didn't have a typical journey. He went from being trained as a school teacher and realizing that that was the anti-vision for everything he wanted and everything he wanted to create in life, to going into some multi-level marketing, which ended in a blaze of glory. And then from there of, what do I want to do? I want to make a lot of money. Who makes money? Salespeople make money. How do I get into sales? So we cover the trials and tribulations, but his, by any means possible, approach to making this work. We cover how he actually navigated that and how he went from basically having nothing, living in his car at one point, to consistently having massive months, consistent income, running really successful teams, working as what he calls an intrapreneur, and creating a life that is completely on his terms. Fair warning, I usually have a fair warning at the start of these podcasts. If you don't like swear words, or if you don't like someone telling it 100% directly as it is, this might not be the podcast for you. But if you continue, just know that you're going to see an awful lot of that. Enjoy. The reason I wanted to talk to you is you have a really unique story. You didn't go through some become a closer camp and then step straight into a closing role. You made a decision and you followed a really unconventional, but in the end, quite successful path to get where you are.
Yeah, man. It was weird. You know, I was trained to be a school teacher, which is quite weird to think, you know, and got fully qualified, but it was like year 2 of becoming a teacher. And it's like, I remember it so clear as day. It's freaking weird. So I was sitting there, my pop's is actually one of the oldest practicing teachers in New South Wales in Australia. So he was like 89 still teaching calculus. Fucking crazy, huh? And tutoring and tutoring people for like extension 2 mathematics and stuff like that. So he's epic. Mum's a teacher. She's a school principal. And that was what I went down the path of. And I got like into my second year and it's theology. So doing like the theology of school teaching and why to become a teacher and what it's all about. And there's this thing called the Melbourne Declaration. And don't quote me on the year, but I think it's like 1986 or something it was written. And it was it basically said the whole point of teaching is to create active and informed citizens that obey the rules. And I was sitting there like my second year in being this, you know, rugby playing dude that was like all about the beers and good times. And I was like, how can I mold these little kids into, you know, basically giving their souls and lives away to an industry in a world that I don't agree with. And then I sort of went through this crazy personal development journey of like, what the fuck even am I doing in the world? Who am I? And what do I actually want from it? And was playing sport, did a lot of damage to my ankle, put on a lot of weight. So I'm 6 foot, as you know, and got to like 110 kilos of just sloppy fat mess, but could outdrink anyone. And sort of, I guess, soul searching, found a network marketing company called Isogenics, which is like supplement shakes and pills and potions and lotions. And it was sort of my first journey into like the online world. And I guess it was my way to A, lose weight, but B, was to get out of becoming a school teacher and becoming an entrepreneur. So it was like this journey that sort of fell into my lap, and I ended up doing quite well from it, and then jumped to another company in the same realm. And that was like, I was like 23, 24 at that stage. I was making like 6 figures a year. They were paying off a Mercedes for me, and then everything come crashing down. And yeah, it's quite wild. I got into disability care, was working these crazy hours, 60, 70 hours a week with these kids that's body was basically deteriorating. They had no white blood cells, so they literally were having cancer at like age 12 there. I was tube feeding them every single afternoon. I'd take them home from school. They'd have like a bag of this milk formula stuff that was drip fed into their stomach, and I'd tube feed them, shower and bath them. And then at night, I'd try and figure my way out into the next way to make money online, because I had a taste of it. And then one day I just got sick of it, and I was like, you know who really makes money? Salespeople. And I was like, of all this other bullshit that's out there, all these other people pitching everything online, the one person that makes money is salespeople. And it doesn't matter what industry they're in, they make money. So I was like, cool. What's the easiest one to get into? Where can I get mentored? Because I knew, you know, I played a lot of sport, and I was like, mentors are key. I was like, cool, real estate is the way. So I went to all these interviews and won't name names of real estate agents, but I remember walking into this one. I had a beard, and I was confident, man. Like I'd made multi 6 figures online in network marketing. I was confident. I was like, I'll outwork anyone that's in front of you. I'll be your best real estate agent in the next 5 years. Give me a shot. And he literally sat me down and just gave it to me. He was like, no one will trust you. You have a beard, blah, blah, blah. You think it's all easy. Or people your age, they think everything's, walk in the park. And I was like, yeah, man, with that attitude, you'll never hire the right person. And I sort of gave it back to him on the chin because I had nothing to lose at that stage. And it sort of happened this weird way that the next day, I had a few more interviews lined up, and this chick that I met doing network marketing messaged me and was like, hey, I've got a job opening as a sales rep. And I was like, fuck, this is weird. She's like, yeah, it's work from home. It's 3K base. And at the time I was making like 5, 6K doing disability care. And I was like, fuck, it's not going to cover the bills. And I was like, but it was my next step is what I wanted to do. So I sort of just trusted the universe, called the boss, who's now become my best mate, was best man at my wedding and that sort of thing. And at the time I remember I was sitting in my, $60,000 Mercedes, looking over the beach on the sunny coast and had no money to my name, was in a shit spot. And I remember I said to him, hey, man, I'll outwork anyone. I won't be, I won't ever let you down. I'll be your best worker. And he literally hired me on the spot. Now I know he knew I was completely full of shit, but he hired me on the spot because he saw something in me, I guess. And that started, a friendship and a journey it's been 5.5 years now. And we've taken the company from, what we were spending sort of 2 to 5K a week on ad spend. And my KPI and quota was I was to get 50 new leads every month was and these weren't bookings, these are opt-ins. 50 opt-ins a month was in my contract. And now, we're spending sort of 200, 300, 400K a month on ads. And it's never sort of looked back and been with him since day one of my sales journey, which has been quite a weird thing. I realized when I started to talk to a lot of sales guys that doesn't happen. So sort of blessed how it all worked. Hey.
I think one thing is you're able to find the success in the failure. And you said one thing earlier, you said the isogenics in particular, it all came crashing down.
Yeah.
What happened?
It did, man. So I'd had a really bad breakup in Newcastle where I was living. I'd just become a qualified teacher. I was making, at that stage about 6-7K a month, and I was thinking $600 on my car payment. So I was making decent money for like a 22, 23-year-old. Thought I was the man. Went up to the sunny coast after a bad breakup for a New Year's and went on a 3-day bender with one of my mates, and then met the person that was sort of at the top of the network marketing company, and they were making like 150, 200K a month at that stage, doing really, really well. And I was like, I just finished my school degree. I'm a teacher. She's like, oh, we're looking for an au pair, a live-in au pair. We've got this pool room. We're looking for an au pair. We've got 3 kids. We just need them to take them to school, look after them after school, and, come on holidays with us and that sort of thing. And I was like, you beauty. I'm going to learn from, the top of this company, going to learn it all. And got about 2 months into there and just started having an affair with another guy. And I was in their house and it just turned toxic, man. Like it was like crazy to the point of she was in America and I was looking after the kids. So that she flew to America. I was looking after the kids. He was somewhere else presenting. And she called me at like 2 a.m, abusing me, and had like a complete mental breakdown. And basically was like, get the fuck out of my house. You owe me 30 grand from living at my house the last 6 months. Like you're a fucking giving it to me, man. I'm like, whoa, where has this come from? I've literally looked after your kids while you've been, going through a crazy affair, divorce. And I was like the one thing that their kids had that was normal, and I took real bad offense, man. So I literally just packed up my room. Lucky enough, her mother was there. So her mother started looking after the kids. I packed up my whole room, put it in my car, and was literally homeless for 2 days on the sunny coast, living in my car. And lucky at the time, me and my now wife, she was a friend of mine. She found a place for me to start renting for $150 a week. So I started renting and sort of built myself from there. But yeah, it was a crazy time. It was super crazy. Hey, it was like, I guess we all go through it. Everyone has the sort of the hero's journey of, the mentor comes in and the mentor fucks you over. And then that makes you, see what's truly out there, and you sort of find your strength and find yourself and recreate it. But yeah, it was quite a wild, lonely time. But I guess, hard work and dedication just created. I'm pretty bulletproof now. It'd take a lot to sit me down.
That's like watching a train wreck from inside the train, the last place that you want to be. So you finished up there, found a place to go. And then was that at the point that you decided you wanted to get into real estate?
No, so I was disability care
Oh,
working
that's
there,
right.
man.
Yep.
And so I was working and it was freaking wild, man. It was like 70, 80, 90 hours a week. I was managing this disability care company and looking after these kids full time. And it was like I basically wasn't living at home. So I'd have like one night, 2 nights a week where I'd actually live at my house that I was renting. And then the other 6 nights I was full time looking after these kids and then managing the company during the day. So it was like a crazy period, but I was in so much debt, man, just had to rebuild myself. And so I just went full on into that because it was like all I knew what to do was just to work hard
Mm,
and put money behind myself and sort of, leave the craziness behind that I'd just gone through the last like 12 months.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you said as well before about the beard. So I don't know if I
Yeah.
told you this or not. I actually did roughly 2 days in real estate. And this is
Yeah.
after I'd left a sales job that did not end too well. Um, it was a long time coming. And that was a lesson in that you shouldn't stick around too long. And I was 21, 22 at the time. And I went in and interviewed. And I still remember the guy was fantastic. Not a bad word to say about him. It was an 80K base as a 20, 21-year-old, no, 21, 22-year-old. And amazing. That was awesome. 80K base, not retainer. And then this is when I still had hair on my head and I didn't have a beard
Yeah.
then. And it was day one. And I said to him, he's like, we want you. I was like, just give me a week. Give me a week of
Yeah.
actual, don't give me the nice stuff. I want a genuine representation of what the job is like. So day one, we sat down and he's got us watching these videos that look like they were recorded 20 years ago about how a real estate professional must be clean cut at all times. You must shave every day. You must have hair that's only this length and you must wear this. And I
Yeah.
remember thinking, this is pretty boring. And the one goal he said is, you just need to get one lead for the agents this week. So he gave me a list of phone numbers to dial, and these were people that had inquired about buying recently, because anyone that was inquiring about buying potentially had something to sell.
Yeah.
And he sat me in the office next to his. The roof was separated, the floor was separated, so he could hear everything. And he just wanted to see, am I going to dial? And me being me, of course I did. I was just dial. I had a couple of leads within the first day, and he was stoked. I was not. Hated the work. It was so boring, and the office was really stuffy, and those guys were just crazy amount of dials every day, and that just wasn't what I was looking for. And halfway through the second day, went out for lunch. I said, look, I really appreciate this, but this is not me. And he said, I understand, and I'm grateful for you for telling me, but I never realized how militant some real estate agents can be about anything that's not
Man, it
perfectly
was
clean.
weird, hey? It was the most weird. Real estate agents are epic, and they've got an epic thing. I actually think the industry is going to be completely imploded on them in the next 5 to 10 years. So we've recently bought a house here, same as you, hey. So it's like 12 months ago we went through our real estate journey. I spent about 3 years looking at housing, finding what I wanted, speaking to real estate agents, and I've sold a lot. I've sold a lot. I've been selling since I was, 19, 20 online. I've done it all. I've called all sorts of things, sold anything from, a $7 book the whole way to a, $50,000 mastermind. I've sold a fair bit, and it's like, the crazy thing about the real estate industry is the only thing that they do is they help lazy people sell properties.
Mm.
They really, in today's day and age, with how much we know about property and how easy realestate.com is, I would be, if I was a real estate agent, I wasn't the owner, I would be so worried about my future and my career. Because it's like, we didn't need a real estate agent to make the purchase that we did. The only thing they did was slow down the purchase and get in the road of what could have been a nice feeling conversation to trying to manipulate and bully.
Mm.
And it's like when you start to talk to more and more people, they're like, yeah, we love the house. The real estate agent was a fuckwit though.
Mm. Mm.
And it's this weird thing of the rules that they put around themselves and the, not having hair on their face, which is fucking weird. Wearing a suit, all the bullshit that they do, it almost comes across as like, it's so like 1980s. And it's like, we're 2024 now, man. Like you can buy a house over realestate.com easy. You don't need some dude like, cock blocking. You're trying to play a game for an extra 20 grand for the real estate agent. It's like for the person selling. It's quite an industry that's I think it'll change. Like in our lifetime, I don't think there'll be a real estate agent on a percentage.
I have a couple of opinions on that because,
Yeah.
as you know, I had some interesting interactions with real estate agents, and I've never met a group of people. Now, I know there are great ones. The ones that we bought this house through, she was lovely. She was fantastic, but she switched on in that she sells estates and she meets with developers, and she only sells very seldom the one-off style of things. And there's a trainer in the UK, Benjamin Dennehy, and he said real estate salespeople, they're not bloody salespeople. He said they are glorified order takers. And the way he maps it out is, I have a house. Do you want to buy it? Yeah. And he just absolutely rips them. Now, I think I have a friend here, and he helped me with a lot of things. I know I asked you a lot of questions as well. And he just said, because I said something about a real estate agent, and he's so matter of fact, he said, real estate agents, they're an NPC at this point. They're not relevant. Yeah. The only people you need are your conveyancer and your broker. The rest can be sorted out. But I think with the way, I think you're right, the way the internet is going, the way the world is going, I think there are a lot of people in sales that will be made redundant within 24 to 36 months.
Yeah, it's quite a wild one, and you sort of sit back and look at it, and it's like, real estate agents are sort of if they're not keeping up with the times now in 2024, imagine what 2030 looks like. It's quite a interesting game.
You've even jumped down that AI rabbit hole of AI setters and AI bots and all of that sort of thing. I'm in it as well, and that's accelerating so fast.
It is, man. The thing I find with it right now is it's been overtaken with the snake oil salesman.
Okay.
So the actual tech isn't coming to surface, and it's very hard to find, and the right people are very hard to find versus the average coaching coaches to be coaches. They've taken the tools that they've learned over a 20-minute YouTube video, and because they can sell, they've started to monetize, but the right things are actually hard to dig through and to find. So it's like AI is incredible. It's amazing. It's there. It's going to change everything, but it's getting to the actual companies that actually have something that works, and not just the full of shit guys that are great at webinars, great at marketing, and can put a white label on what's there and sell it to you. That's what I'm finding anyway. We've been down, it's maybe been 18 months of looking at AI, and it's cool. Like my whole book that I wrote, AI did the whole thing for me. It's fucking amazing. And we've sold, we have an AI component where we teach, coaches how to write books and stuff using AI, and how to do product research and that sort of thing with AI. And we've sold, I think I sold probably about maybe 1.2 million worth of that. So I know it, I know that game well. But what I've found is the stuff that we really, really need from a sales perspective, like an auto dialer, the bots that can reply, all that sort of thing. They're so the really good ones are gated, because why would you launch that and let other people have it? And the average cookie cutter ones that are out there that most of us see are so heavily white labeled that I find it's probably like a 6 months to 12 months that those people sort of stop being part of it. And, something new will come across, some sort of crypto thing, because there's going to be a bull run or whatever the bullshit they jump onto. So they'll probably jump to there. And then I think AI will come really strong. And I think there's going to be a rapid push. I think the people that won't be done are the ones that are, I think sales managers will stay, sales, directors, people that have the brain behind it, the science and the art of sales will be gone, will stay. But I think, setters, I think your middle average salespeople, I think they'll all, be gone in the next, I'm going to call it 2 years. They all find it really hard to be a setter. Why would you hire a setter when you can have an AI thing that's calling for you 24/7 and can reply to text messages and doesn't have all the drama that salespeople have?
That's a thread that we can pull at maybe a little bit later. There was the maths that I saw on one AI dialer, and it said if you have a really good team of, say, 3 setters,
Yeah.
They're going to do what, 100, 150 outbounds a day, and they're
Yeah.
going to connect with maybe 15, 20. And then
Yeah.
of those 15 to 20, each person might convert 4 or 5 to a sales call, of which 1 to 2 of those will sell.
Correct.
So then they worked out the rates. But then if you have an AI setter and you have a
Yeah.
database of 10,000, it doesn't have to call one after the other. It can
Yeah.
dial 10,000 simultaneously as you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the execution. And even the ones that you hear now, it's getting close. Some of them are really good. But the problem that I see, and you'll see this if you play with Claude or ChatGPT or anything like that, the longer the conversations get, the longer it takes to reply. Because now I don't know how accurate this is across all of them, but apparently every time your AI, your conversational AI does a response, it rereads the whole conversation.
Wow.
So the longer the conversation goes on with someone, that's why you hear those slightly longer pauses, because it's going back through the whole thing.
Got it.
With how fast it's improving, what's the voice? 11 Labs. With how fast it's improving and how good the voice side of things is getting, I don't think it's too far away.
Yeah.
But I think the visual, wow, what's that company that does the visual? I can't remember the name of it. Sorry?
HeyGen's good.
HeyGen, that's the one.
Yeah.
Not there yet because it's too it's too
Yeah.
rigid in the way it moves.
Yeah. It's powerful, man. Like it's a beautiful thing that's come out, you know. It's sort of this sales space, you know, 5 years for me online. And when I first started, you know, CRMs were the big thing. You know, everyone would talk about their CRM and the features CRMs had, and then they all basically became the same.
Yeah.
And it's like now it's happening with AI. It'll get to this point where, you know, the average setter will probably be, you know, null and void, and there'll probably be like an AI manager will be a new role. So you'll be the person that sits behind the screen and makes sure that all the AI calls are good and not shit. And you check at the end of the day how they went, and, you know, how many disputes you had, or, you know, hang-ups and shit like that. And that'll be, you know, someone's role that's a, you know, a bean counter that can just sit there and be like, that's starting to get shit, that's getting bad, that was really good, that percentage was off. I think that'll be, you know, a new role. But I really think from that perspective, I think, you know, a good salesperson will stay. It'll take a while for it to get. I've seen them and they can have jokes and play around and, you know, be flirty and all those sorts of things we do as salespeople. But it takes a while for a robot to fully learn that. But the average, you know, easy SOP following people, I think they're pretty done.
So
you'd be scared.
What you were just saying then about emotion. So short answer, I agree. Yes, there is some new AI out now that is. I only found out about this 2 days ago. I'll send it to you afterwards. Unbelievably proficient at actually gauging people's emotions. And so you can also do even if responses now and setups with AI. And I'm tying this together. So I know when I caught up with you, you said, what was that model that you use with the personality?
Enneagram.
Enneagram. That's it.
Yeah.
So you can train AI on Enneagrams as well as gauging emotion on top of the way that you want things to be. And the way I'm envisioning things turning out is, if we look at an Ascension model, you've got like a $7 opt-in, which then leads to a $25 purchase, which then leads to a $97 purchase. But the majority of those are not done via sales calls. They're done either via chat or just VSL.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have AI creating the VSL, especially with the new one by OpenAI coming out that makes the videos. And then I think we're going to have AI trained on the likes of Enneagrams and basically emotions and conversations that will get people. And I think they will feed the Ascension model. And then I think once they get to that 97 and have to make that jump to 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 20,000, I think that's where we'll see the salesperson come in.
Yeah, I think that's really it. Like that's the business and that's the model. You know, it's sort of the front end people that get, you know, null and void. It happens in most industries.
Yeah.
You know, what is it? Something crazy the other week I was looking at it. It was in 1990, the average $1 billion company was something stupid like 25,000 employees, and now there was $1 billion company with 6. So it's like that whole thing. You know, it's like that's what automation and systems and technology does for us. So it's like the first people that go are, the ones that don't have ideas, don't really have any thoughts. They just implementers and they just do the work. And it goes the whole way up to the people that actually think and actually have the ideas behind how do we use this AI? How do we use this model?
I watched a movie last night by recommendation from a friend.
Yeah.
It's an old movie. It's called Officescape. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't.
It's 99 or 98. I think it's 99. And it is the perfect representation of corporate life, just how people are so frustrated. They hate their job. And there was a guy in there and his whole job was because it was going to 2000. The computer systems weren't set up to automatically change over. And he was working at like a tech company or whatever it was. And his job was to go in there 8 hours a day and update the date from 1999 just to 99 manually on all of the records.
Yeah, fuck.
And that's the perfect example of a job that's, can you imagine hiring someone to, no way.
Yeah, exactly. It's null and void, And so I think that the same thing will happen in our time. It'll be like, it'll go from like, what do? You're a sales rep. No, I'm a automation specialist. Yeah. Just funny.
I think AI will just be a high level person amplified.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Which is what we want anyway. That's the whole problem, is a company scaling through humans is how do you make epic humans?
Yeah. So I remember you left out part of the story at the beginning. So you started with the company that you're with now, and it wasn't purely work from home. You went to events, you ran events, you did everything like that.
Yeah. So we sell mindset personal development. So it's like we would spend $2,000 a week on ads, which is fucking so weird. And that was, $20 a lead thereabouts. So that would get us 100 leads, would opt in, and we'd have a live event every Wednesday, either Sunshine Coast, Brisbane or Gold Coast. And so I would call them all. It was me and another chick we started off. We'd call every single one of them 7-8 times a day. We'd call them because we only had, 50 each a week, which is fucking nothing. So we call them 7-8 times a day. And from there, our whole goal was to get them to turn up to a live event that was free. And so we'd get, 100 names, 40 might show up, 50 if we were great, 60 if it was amazing. And from there, we'd close, 10 to 15% in the room. And that was our business for probably, it was like April, May, June. COVID happened June, didn't it? So it must have been April, May, June, maybe July we stopped. Whenever COVID hit in 2019, 2020 was it? Whenever COVID hit.
It was 2020.
COVID hit?
Yeah.
2020. So we did that for a few months and then it hit. And then we were like, what the fuck do we do? That was our whole business. So we would sell them. We'd sell them into a $49 a week masterclass. And then every month we would have them all in a room. We'd educate them for 3 days. And then on the third day, we'd say, hey, you can get certified in this modality. Buy here. And it was like a $7,150 sale or $6,500 in GST. So $7,150. And so we'd sell them and that was our model. We had like a few things like we were coaching coaches, we were doing done for you marketing, that in the background. I wasn't selling that because I was like the newbie. And then COVID happened and we were like, what the fuck now? Like that was our whole model. We took it online and Chris, the boss, had an idea to go to the US. And then it just went fucking psycho. It just went like from spending $2,000 a day to like we had this front end funnel that was called Rapid Recode that was a $99 purchase straight off an ad to a 17-minute video. And it was making us 1.5 ROAS without a salesperson.
Oof.
So we haven't had it since. We had it last about 2 years and we've been trying to find it ever since. The next, front end ROAS machine. So it was making 1.5 and then we would literally get them booking in. And we were just creaming it, man. We were having all these people buying the certification. It was a brand new thing in the personal development world. And it was like, I was so shit and raw. Like, fuck, I was a terrible salesperson at the start. So, but I was doing like 200s, 160s, 170s without, like, it was so simple. Like we would have some days we'd do like a big giveaway and we would have like, I think my biggest day was like 14 PIFs. And that was like, then we changed to America, so $6,500 USD, which at the time was 10,000 AUD. So whatever that 13, 14 pips at that. So it was like a 150, 160K day at 15% comms. And I was just like it was just like raining money. And I was like, what the fuck? Like 12 months earlier, I was, wiping fucking disabled people's asses for $27 an hour. And it was just like, my brain it exploded. Hey, it's like such a wild ride, that 2020, 2021 journey in the sales realm.
And you are one exception to the space. And so you're pretty much the high ticket space's best kept secret. And I know you tried to make friends for a little while, and people aren't overly welcoming of someone new. Everyone, and I get messages all the time. Is there anyone that's consistently? I'm not going to share your numbers. It's no one's business. Yeah. Is there anyone that is consistently killing it? Just consistently over time, just month after month, absolutely crushing it. Yeah. The short answer is I can say yes, but they're not the people out there that are bragging about it, boasting about it. But what do you think it was? Do you think, because that was around the time was that when Apple turned off tracking so that ads couldn't be as targeted?
Was that 2022?
Yeah, that would have been 2022.
2022. Yeah, so I'd already had 2 years of it. And so I guess my philosophy is a bit different to everyone else. So I played football, right? I played semi-professional, got capped for Australia at schoolboy level. And everything to me is sport. Like I just love competing. I've got a half marathon coming up this weekend on the sunny coast, and I just love competing, man. It's like, fuck, my everything is to compete. No matter if it's like Monopoly to whatever, you name it, I'm going to compete and I'm going to give it my all. And
we can never play Monopoly together.
Yeah, I'm banned from family gatherings from Monopoly. But so one thing about sport is team sport is the most fun. It's epic to compete by yourself and to beat people, but to beat people and have like that camaraderie of, hey, we fucking went for something really hard and it was hard and we won. I think that's like one of the most, and especially for men, I think we've been doing that since, we conquered different countries, depending on what your heritage is. The Vikings boated all around, the middle of Scotland, Ireland, the UK, and conquered them. And then they conquered the Vikings back, right? So it's been in our DNA and our heritage for a long time. We're obviously both Australian. You're probably the same as me, majority Scottish, Irish, English, with a little bit of whatever thrown in there, a bit of Norwegian, whatever it is. So that's like in our DNA. And I think like to have a lot of dudes, women as well, but to have a lot of people that are all going for like one thing and fucking going for it to win. That's what I found in the company. And it was the same as when I played sport. So they were like, all these guys were epic. Chris, the CEO, he's a genius and he was fucking so epic. We would have, beers, we were playing tennis. It was an epic time. And we were crushing something that was really fucking hard. And most of the months, it didn't even matter about how much money we were making. It was about like, did we fucking leave it all on the field? Yes or no? Yes, of course we did. And like, how much fun did we have? So I went from like this normal thing that I see now is like some random guy at 25 years old overnight starts to make, a 10K month. Then he starts telling everyone he's made a 10K month. 6 months later, he's starting to do 40K because he consults to everyone that couldn't make 10K a month. A year later, he's a fucking genius guru. He's got 200K in his bank account. He doesn't own his house. He's not married. He doesn't have investments. He's got no insurances. He's got a cool car though, and he's got a Rolex. And so he has this life, and then all of a sudden he hires salespeople. He's never CEO'd before. He doesn't understand the world really. He's just learned how to make this money on this little online thing that's not really that big compared to what an actual company is out there. Like the online world, it's epic. You can make, $1 million a month and you're a fucking guru. There's dudes doing $1 million before they even get up and piss in the morning in proper companies, So it's like, it's cool. But what happens is they then go and hire these sales reps who are fucking quote unquote as dog shit. It's like they want to be a sales, they don't get it. And so they start selling, and then it's this like whole industry of like the 25-year-old doesn't give a fuck about them. He's just trying to scale. And then the sales rep doesn't give a fuck about him because they know they're going to get fucked over because the stick rate in this industry is 30 to 60 days, and then they get fucked and then they go and find another job. So it's like this crazy like turmoil of both are trying to fuck each other over. But when we came together as a company, everyone was just trying to win. And it was like such a different mindset. Like I go out there now and I'm talking to people, and yeah, as you said, I came back on, I had a 3-year hiatus off social media because I got so sick and tired of posting and the bullshit highlights. So I had 3 years off. I didn't post for 3 years straight, and I learned a lot, man. It was great to have, we have, horse racing over here, and they put their blinkers on and don't look at another horse. They just run their race. And I think, a lot of people would be very successful if they did that themselves. Obviously, there's the networking and finding the right jobs and selling your own courses and stuff. But I think, brand new and you've got a role that you like and something you can do. I think, putting those blinkers on and staying away from the drama and the bullshit out there, I think that was like the best thing I did. And then, as you said, I came back on and I started to add all these people that I was like, fuck yeah, I've done my time. I've done 5 years in this industry. I've closed millions. I've got a team. I think I've hired and fired over like 30 people. I've got my epic team of people. So I started to connect with, young people, green people in the industry of sales. And you were the only one that wanted to chat to me. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? It was like so weird, man. I was adding them. I was asking how they were. And all of them were like ignoring me, leave me unread, chatting to me with one word answers. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then so I deleted it all again and stopped connecting with people and just have like the few that I talk to now. So it's been quite a fun little experiment to see what people actually focused in terms of what they're actually trying to live and the life they're trying to lead versus what actually matters the most, which is, a life that you love and creating that. I think it's two very different worlds. And social media, especially when you're, an online entrepreneur and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, it's very hard to have both. Yeah.
Explain that a little bit more.
So I think it's hard to, well, I know it is. It's very hard to try and keep up and say, how good you are, what you're doing every single day, and actually be over here succeeding. It's a very different reality. You wake up and those, 3 to 4 years, my first thing in my mind was, my morning routine, then I'm going to go fucking close it and I'm going to make a lot of money today. Versus, I came back for a year and tried to build my own brand. And every single morning I wake up and be like, fuck, what am I posting about today? Am I going to document my life? What am I going to talk about today? So it's a very different energy and different realm to be in, I think. And it's like, I think being in the brand new, you network, you get it. But I think once you find an offer that's even half decent that you believe in, you should just be going all in on it. And you should be like, you don't need to be posting. Today I called 165 people and we generated 20 grand. It's like when you're doing that and you're putting your brain there, there's no energy going over here, which is the actual thing to set yourself up.
I think there needs to be a hybrid. Having explained that further, I agree. There is a point where you have to decide, well, what am I actually going to do? But then what is the world's perception of what I'm going to do? And there's a lot of memes out there talking about particularly LinkedIn, because I think it is so much worse than any of the other ones. The tiniest little thing happens in your life. And then there's the meme of, how do I turn this into my hero story? How do I turn this into triumph over a difficult life or whatever it is? But I think it's important in that if you want to build a brand, do cool shit and then talk about the things that you did. Yep. Because if you have to, and there's obviously a creative cycle. You have to learn what to talk about or what to say. And I think it's really good for building. But if you have to kind of embellish things or make things up, I think you just need to do a lot more cool things.
Yeah. It's, and I think it's one of those, I guess, thorns in my side. I think, the likes of Gary Vaynerchuk and Russell Brunson made it really bad. It was like Gary Vaynerchuk, 2016, 2017, and then Russell Brunson sort of came as a new Gary V in 2020, 2021, and was really like, even if you're only 1% better than someone else, you can fucking sell a course and make money. And I think it really fucked the online industry.
He's I think ClickFunnels, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's the wrestler.
Yeah.
I think everyone's seen that video of his son on the mat and he flips it a little bit. Apparently he was a great wrestler, but I watched an interview with him not too long ago and he said something that clicked in for me, that it's kind of how I view sales. And he said, if you do a webinar and if you focus on it, every week you do a new webinar, then you go back and you watch, when did people comment? At the 57-minute mark, people were asking this question. How do I go back and make sure that question's already covered? And then the next time you go through, you've pre-handled that.
Yeah.
And then you go through, and he said, if you do a webinar every week for a year, you will never, ever have to worry about money again, as long as you're actively learning and you're crafting it in such a way that people are like, this is perfect. This is everything that I wish it was.
Yeah,
I
he's
think,
one of the greatest webinar, of all time. He made 3 million in 90 minutes on stage at the first ClickFunnels. Fucking genius, man. And then Tony and Dean Gariozzi made $21 million in 24 hours selling their KBB Knowledge Blueprint 2021. I think it first launched. So they're beast, man. Brunson's a beast. What I don't agree with is the whole learn 1% more than someone and you can be their master, you can be their guru, and you can charge high ticket for it. I remember I was in year 7 and I was real naughty at school. I was real bad. And I had this teacher, and I don't know how we knew this as a kid. At that age, we shouldn't have, but this teacher came across, she was doing English for us, and she started to teach us Indonesian. And I remember, I don't know how I heard it, if I was in the staff room and overheard teachers talking about it or something, but I remember them saying, she's learning a week ahead of the students and teaching them. I remember hearing, and I was like 13-year-old fucking cheeky ass. And I remember I must have gotten in trouble or I got embarrassed or something in her class. And I just fucking let loose, man. And I was like, I can't believe you're teaching us. You don't even really know this, blah, blah. And I was a little asshole, arrogant little prick. And I still, to the day, I hold that, close to my heart. If you don't really know, you shouldn't be making a course. You shouldn't be fucking writing content and telling people, because new people in the industry, they're looking, man. They're looking for a mentor. They're looking for a guru. They're looking for someone to help them. And if you're, over here and you've sold $20,000 to your name and you're telling people how to be a sales guru, a sales rep, it's like, fuck. You're going to do a lot of damage. And you're not a bad person for doing it, because you're being told by these greats, you only need to know 1% more and you can charge them for a course. And this is how you make money as a coach. But it's sometimes you just got to let it sit back and let the pros do the work. It's an interesting thing. It's like, even for myself, it's like to still be to where I am today, and I've coached a lot of people. It's like, even to me, I still sometimes have that, like, do I know enough to be teaching people sales? Which is weird, because what I've done and how many people I've trained to be multi-million-dollar closers, I've done that, but still I question it. But then you have, a young green guy that's closed maybe 500K in his first 12 months coaching people.
What's that expression? There's the Dunning-Kruger.
It is. What is it?
Dunning-Kruger effect. Isn't that it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, but those that think they know it all know very little.
Yeah. It's it's that sort of that ecosystem of, your first 6 months in, first 3 months, you duck above water, and your second 3 months, you're teaching everyone and you're the best in the room. And then it's like 10 years in and you're still learning and you still think you're shit.
I talked about this. I did a live in a group on, I think, Friday or something like that. And I talk about when I came into this space from corporate, I was so arrogant, as in not outwardly. I was never dismissive of people. But I just remember thinking, I've sold deals that are 100 times what most of these guys are talking about. And that was on the regular for me. And I just remember thinking, like, how are these guys struggling to sell a 5K deal?
Yeah.
I'm just going to walk in, get whatever I want. I am really good at sales. I sucked at sales. And I'd gotten past that discomfort of talking to people, which is a massive part of it. But my sales ability was so bad, but I just didn't know. And then the more I got exposed to how technical sales can be, but how many reps and how much experience it takes to actually be good, I got humbled really fast.
Yeah, just a different industry, huh? Different people, more B2C, not B2B.
Very different. Very different. And what you said before about me being the only one that wanted to talk to you, I still remember when you messaged me. Because it was, I put up something about, I'll connect with just about anyone that is really high level and wants to learn or knows their stuff or something like that. And you sent me a message. But it's the same thing. And I understand people get a lot of DMs and people get pitched a lot. But sometimes you meet people in the online space. Meeting someone in the online space in person, it's a gamble. It's a gamble. And a lot of
Yeah,
people you meet are really nice and switched
yeah,
on, but then some people you meet are the exact opposite.
yeah.
And yeah, I got to see into your life and like see where you live and like the cars and the house and you have an absolutely beautiful life that nobody gets to see. And you're really quiet about that level of achievement and that level of consistency.
Yeah, I think for me to show life is I just don't think people need to know that.
Mm,
Know what I have. I think that's like a big thing. It's like before I made good money and I was doing network marketing, I was literally that person, posting about I'd have an ice bath. I'd show I'm doing a fucking ice bath. I'd buy some organic strawberries. I'd educate people about organic fucking strawberries. And now that I've made it, I'm like, fuck, no one needs to see anything I do. I've got it sweet now. I don't need to do it. And then the other side of that is, sometimes obviously you want to give back and you want to help people. And so I started to post, daily updates. Probably about 12 months ago, I started to post daily updates. And because I didn't big dick it and say, who I am, what I've done, I just fall into the category of all the other people that are posting inspirational and things every day. And it's like, fuck, I really can't be bothered. It's quite interesting, eh?
mm. And the other side of it as well, I've said this a bunch of times on a bunch of podcasts. Everybody that's shouting from the rooftops about how much they're earning, they're not.
Yeah, you can tell, man. You can tell what someone has, their mannerisms, and there's not many people making multi six figures that have to tell people about it.
Mm,
It's quite funny, It's the same as in the gym. The biggest, strongest guy doesn't will normally wear a hoodie and long pants, whereas the one that's weighing 75 kilos and 6 foot will have no clothes on. It's that whole thing of it's almost not a small man syndrome, but it's that whole thing of you've got to
posturing.
come out and try and get that persuasion. You've got to come across and try and masculine it, whatever you want to call it, but that's how they are. They've got to try and combat what if I do get looked at and I don't actually have it, so they come across that they've already got it. It's quite a funny one.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, well, it is true. It's all over the world. You see it in every single thing. You'll see someone they'll have a flash car, but then they're so deep in debt, or they'll have a Rolex, but they're on finance. That's cool.
So we'll jump back to your journey for a second. So you got into sales, you tried real estate. That did not, you didn't even get into real estate based on that. And then you were doing the tripping up and down. But at what point did it kind of tick over of, okay, now we're accelerating? And at what point did you start to make, because you do sales, but most of what you do now is optimization and team management.
Yeah. So I guess that all started to roll, man. And we started to market into the US, and that became a completely different conversation because I had an Australian accent. And I don't think Australians had hit America in personal development yet. I don't think that there was many companies marketing to America from the US, from Aussie, that were personal development. So what you get is quite funny. Our target avatars are Karen. That's literally who we call it. So it's a 35 to 70-year-old female that's bought any sort of personal development from Dr. Joe to Tony Robbins to whoever, and they love personal development. Normally what happens is they're either a stay-at-home mum and they're trying to find their life, or their kids have just flown the nest and they're trying to figure out, we've made our millions. We've got, 2 or 3 investment properties. We make good money. My husband's busy because he's a baller in the US, and my kids have now left, and who the fuck am I? So that's who I speak to all day. And I guess, as a 30-year-old Aussie, they really fucking love us.
Yeah.
So it dawned on me, we had this really crazy period of, and I didn't know how long it was going to be. I'd seen network marketing companies fold in 2 years, go from being, the quickest earning network marketing company in 2 years to fucking not even a customer in a 12-month period from things happening in the market and other companies. So I was like, the back of my reptilian brain was like, fuck, I'm scared. I'm going to have to try and make as much and cream it here. But then on the other side, I was like, the more money I made, the more money the company made. My best mate was a CEO, and I know he'd invest more in ads because he had nothing else to invest in because he'd bought his properties and everything. So it became this like crazy catapulting journey. And it came, I think I was like, I don't think it was that much in. I was maybe 7 months in, and I came down for Christmas. No, it was a few months before Christmas. So I must have only been 6 months into the company. And what we do is what we call a true choice. So we sell, personal development mindset, but our biggest thing that really sets us up is what we call a true choice. So the average person has goals that they've been taught from since a young age: become a firefighter, fucking all the goals. We get married, have kids, have a house, wipe, all this shit. But it wasn't until I got into what I truly wanted that life started to change. So it was like, what's the actual true end result for Alexi? Not, a 30-year-old guy. What's a true end result for him? And it's like, took me like 2-3 days of back and forth with Chris to really get what I actually wanted from the world. And it was like, I wanted to be married. I really wanted that. I wanted to have dogs. I wanted to have bonsais, the little trees. I fucking loved them and I wanted them. And I wanted to be super healthy. And within like the space of 2 months, I'd bought 2 puppies, got engaged to Mia, bought bonsais, and was back playing sport after heaps of injuries. And it was like, I got into that. And then the last one was I really wanted to teach other people how to sell. So I'd figured it out. I figured out how to sell. And so then it came January 2021, maybe 2020, it's 2020. And then I hired my first 3 sales guys. One of them didn't last. He fucked off. 2 of them I got to $1 million in their first 10 months. And it was the fucking most fun, man. We were crushing it. And that's sort of when I stepped away from, I can be good and I can sell and I know it. But 50-year-old Alexi doesn't still want to be bashing 150 calls a day and sitting on Zoom calls. So I started to look at what really mattered, and it was, team and momentum. And then it was systems that supported a salesperson, because I found salespeople won't wipe their own ass. So how could I build a system that A, would feed them, and then C, would wipe their ass? So it was like, and what I mean by wiping their ass is little things like a 48-hour message that books someone who just purchased back into their calendar to make sure A, they stay, B, they consume the content, and C, they get upsold or pay their balance off. And then a message that goes out in 30 days' time and asks them to piff remainder. And then a message that goes out 48 hours before we launch a webinar that says, hey, I'm thinking of you, come watch this thing. So I started to build all these systems that I was like, what's a salesperson best at? They're best at fucking being in front of the right person. So I was like, cool, I need to figure out all these other things to get them in front of the right person for 80, 90% of their shift. The other 10%, they've got to do their little things. But I was there I'm very good at multitasking. The average salesperson, as you know, fucking terrible. They can't even reply to an email while they're sitting on a call. They can't, text while they're on a call to someone. They just want. So I was like, cool, I need to get them through a system where they're only speaking for 90% of the time to that client. And the other time they might be doing a little bit of bookkeeping, but I want to be the one that controls it and feeds them, so they don't have to worry about that, because that's then makes it a really easy journey for them to just turn up every day and make sales every day on repeat. So that's when I saw it and I was like, cool, that system works. And I got really lucky that I had a Filipino. One of our team was from the Philippines, and he reached out to me and was like, I'd love to sell. And I was like, okay, this is fucking epic. So Filipinos, most people won't know about this on the podcast. They learn American English. So you don't know they're from Philippines. A lot of them have really good schooling. So they'll either go to another country to do school. So they come back to the Philippines. But what I found was that they're hungrier than any Westerner, and they outwork them. But it was really easy to feed them the right stuff and wipe their ass so that they could just stay focused. And I was able to get to the point where, as we'll talk about real estate agents, most salespeople in the high ticket space, especially when you've got really fucking good webinars that we do in VSLs, most of it is ticket taking. So I was at this point in my career where I was like, cool, I'm getting 15%. I'm paying these sales guys from Australia 13%, who every week have a fucking problem and miss their alarm, or they fucking have a breakup, or they're not healthy this week, so they don't dial enough, or whatever problems come with it. And I'm paying them 13%. So I'm only getting 2% as a manager override. And I was like, so if I pay a Filipino much less, I take way more. I can diversify the risk of having more Filipinos on the same amount of leads, because if one gets sick, I've got another 4 or 5 still calling. Whereas over here with the West scenario, it was like, if he gets sick, that's his whole fucking week that's out of check. And then you'll get in the head noise of, I'm not doing well enough, so his next week will suck. And then he'll have a third week of the month where he'll finally start to kick in. His fourth week, he'll be so scared that he's not going to get his good KPIs and paycheck that he'll fucking do it. And then his first week, he'll be burnt out again. And so I was like, cool, I need to de-minimize the risk. So I got rid of that and started to hire Filipinos only. And now I've got 7 or 8 Filipinos. They all do, $150 a day. The best that I've had Filipino was a chick who sold alongside me. We sort of, JV'd all my leads together. She started calling and closing. Last year we sold 2.4 million, and she probably sold 80% of that. And I sort of managed her. So it's, so I sort of sit back now and I'm like, cool, I can sell. I know I can. And I know if the, leads ever dry up or whatever, I can just be the pure only Alexi selling. And I'm happy to do that and be the sales guy. But right now, while we're creaming it, we're spending so much on ads, and I can manage and make people, 80% as good as me. That's when, I started to be like, fuck, I'm way better at systems and building salespeople. And that's like a future. At 50, I can still be looking after sales teams and hiring managers and shit. But at 50, I don't want to be on Zoom calls talking and, asking Karen how her day is going, knowing how she's going to answer and what I need to do exactly to make her buy a 5K program.
Isn't that a cultural difference as well? I think I told you this, one of the offers I work with, they sell VAs and it is to replace, how do we say this? Perhaps non-trained staff, admin, support, reception, that sort of thing. Because it's so hard to get people on, 1, a reasonable rate, but 2, people that are actually prepared to work. And the cultural difference is phenomenal. Absolutely. They just work so hard. And they're just agreeable.
Yeah, man. Over there, they're taught different things. They're still very much, their government's a dictator. They're in a pretty bad spot. They're third world. But they still have first world education and stuff, So it's like, and $1,000 a month, that goes a long way. So $1,000 a month over there, they're able to bring their family. So they're really big with family, hey? Well, white people aren't. Like, Westerners suck at family. We move out from our parents the moment we fucking can. They end up in nursing homes. Our brother has a baby, we don't fucking help them out. Like, it's just how Western people are. We've got this weird culture. They're all about culture, so they'll live like multi-generational. The moment they start making like $1,000 a month, their parents will move in that are sick and elderly. They'll have an auntie move in as well that they look after. And they start to become rich. At $2,000 a month, a Filipino is richer than a Filipino doctor.
Really?
So they're real fucking rich, man. If you pay them right and they do the right thing, you completely not only change their life, but it's like their whole generations to come is changed. They've set them up so fucking well from it. So it's like, I find real reward in that as well, that you can change their life so much. Whereas the average Westerner, they're not ever really tied to you. But a Filipino is. Like, I know my Filipinos that I've hired, they won't ever leave my side because I've changed their life. Like, they bought investment properties now. One of mine, she's off doing IVF. They never thought they'd have kids, and now she's got enough money to do IVF. Like, all that sort of thing that you completely change them. The average Westerner is like, fuck you, man, I'm quitting this year because I've got another job offer that's promised to pay me 20%, and you only pay me 13%, so fuck you. So it's like, I just find that they're way easy to deal with, and I just make more money and get to shower them with more money, which is epic.
Seems like they're a lot better to work with. And I think the other side of things as well is, you touched on it before, you've created a model whereby you can allow the person to be exactly what they're meant to be. You hire a salesperson to do sales, and you've got two sides of it where people say, no, salespeople are lazy. They should do this. They should do their admin. They should do this. Whereas at the end of the day, you can automate the majority of that. And there's this old school mentality of, no, a salesperson's job is to do all of this sort of stuff. Well, what's the greatest revenue generating activity? How much of the rest can you automate? Why are we not doing that?
You know, it's I'm watching Suits at the moment. Have you seen that show?
They say, God damn, so much. Like so much. Every second word.
They do. And so what's true is, you know, Harvey Specter, obviously a fictional character, epic fucking closer. Amazing. He does none of the low-level bullshit. And what it is like admin, all that shit, it's a $20 an hour task. Sales closing, that's $1,000 an hour task, maybe $2,000 an hour task if you get the right closer. So why the fuck, with old school mentality, would you get them? And the salespeople should fill in their end of day report. It's like, why? If that's a $20 an hour task that you can get a fucking VA to do, or you can get automation now with everything we've got, why are they still doing that? It's like my thing is like, the cuffs off of the salesperson and let them be a salesperson. Right? I know what you'll say, because you'll say they've got to be blooded, right? And they've got to learn, and they've got to have good. No, you're not?
No.
Oh, cool. What were you going to say?
No. So what I was going to say is, you say it's a $20 an hour task. That's not how it's seen, because how much do you have to pay a commission-only closer if they're not making sales? Nothing. So that becomes a $0 an hour task, not weighing up the actual opportunity cost of that salesperson not being on calls. And I heard a statistic last week, and it said the average employee does 2 hours of work per day.
Yeah.
2 hours of work. Now, even if you get a commission-only sales pro, you clean everything out of their way, and you get them to do 5, 6, 7 hours, whatever it is per day, solely of that, and you automate the rest, the opportunity cost, because if they're selling a 10K offer and 80% show rate, and they close at 50% for round numbers, the opportunity cost on every hour to your company is like thousands.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. So it's, I just got really good at finding what salespeople fucking hated. At the start, man, I wasn't. At the start, I was like, why aren't all you fuckers like me? Why can't you fill in end-of-day reports? Why can't you wake up early? Why can't you close that person? Why can't you send a text message to get people to this thing? And then I was like, I'm asking the wrong questions, you know? I'm trying to compare someone with me who's fucking very, very good at multitasking and thinking what's next. Instead, I was like, nah, the question really should be is like, what do you fucking hate? How much can we automate to get you calling, rather than fucking around with refund requests, or fucking around with onboards, or fucking around with, you know, how many calls did you make today, and how many have you got sitting on the fence, and jump on another fucking 20-minute call where I just ask you how your fucking week's been. You know, it's like, I was very much like, this is what you do. That's all you're going to do when you're in my team. There will be times where I ask you to go above and beyond, but majority of the time you're just going to be a fucking salesperson, and that's what I'm paying you for. I'm not paying you to be admin. I'm not paying you to fucking come up with thoughts about, you know, what your lead should get next. Yeah.
I think about the version of myself in corporate, and I'll say it now. There were times where I was pretty lazy, and the only times that I was lazy was when, and I had an excuse to, I had to put stuff in the CRM. I had to update this. I had to do, and everything in the CRM, they were using Salesforce. And to this day, I won't work with it, because that's how bad Salesforce was. And just the amount of admin and legwork we had to do to get anything done. And now I understand a CRM is a massive attribute if you use it correctly, but you shouldn't have a bank of stuff to do at the end of the day. You should have a system, and you just update it as you're going through, and the automation should take care of itself. But I did get lazy sometimes. And it would
Yeah,
just
because
be with all of those tasks that are not prospect facing, not revenue generating.
they're not income producing, are they?
Mm,
That's the key. They're the biggest thing for us.
mm,
Yeah, it's intense, man.
mm. You disagree with a good portion of sales managers out there, but I think the reason is you didn't come through the typical system that everyone else did. You weren't really a junior in a company where mediocrity was accepted. You were put into a compressor straight away of like, whoa, how do we make this work? Where everybody has to win.
Yeah, well, I was having whiskeys with the boss at the end of the week. 2-3 times a week we would have whiskey and sit there, and if I was fucking shit, how shit's that conversation?
Mm,
Hey, bro, you just spent 30 grand on me this week. Thanks heaps. I was a lazy piece of shit and didn't call my leads today, and I missed a fucking call, and I made 10 grand for you, so you're negative 20K. Let's open that bottle of whiskey and have it together. It just couldn't be done. I was held to such a high principle of the inner business, what was happening, what was actually happening. And I guess as normal salespeople, we don't see that. We don't see that every single day the CEO is rocking up to, Chris, for example, we rock up, we've got 65 staff, we've got, 300K of ads every month. Our salespeople on comms, all this shit. I think his bill's like 450, 500K a month before profit. So we have to make that as a business or he's losing money. So, sometimes as commission-only salespeople, we out-earn the CEO if it's a hard month. Fuck, if I still sell 50K, I'm still making, my 7.5 grand. Thanks, bro. But if I'm only selling 50K, he's definitely going negatives, and that's coming out of the future of the company. So I was held at a really high percentage. I was sitting with him. He was making good money, and I couldn't let him down because he was spending money on both of our futures. And I saw the business as my own. I remember I saw, he said it really early days. I was an entrepreneur. I was smart enough. I was knowledgeable enough. I was talented enough to have my own company. 100% I could do it. I could teach sales. I could teach mindset. I could teach fucking most things. Health. I've got, a lot of passions, a lot of learning, a lot of knowledge that I know. But I was an entrepreneur because the vision he had and what he was selling to this day is better than anything that I feel I could sell. So I took it as my own and was like, fuck yeah, I love this and I'm going to get it out to the world. And the more money I make him, the more leads I get. And we'll figure out the leads later, whether I've got to hire more people, whether I've got to be fucking busy and work 7 days a week, whatever the fuck happens. All I care about is how much is in his pocket, because that means my pockets are going to be lined as well. And it just works.
Explain that principle of entrepreneur a little bit more.
It's quite a funny one. I saw someone talk about it on a podcast 6 months ago. They didn't really nail it, but the key is like, obviously everyone wants to be an entrepreneur and have their own business. And it's like, what I truly believe is there's only so many good ideas that actually make good businesses in the next 10 years, right? We're in this world now where it's continuing to grow, and even what you sell will change in the next 5 years. You'll have something completely different. So rather than trying to figure out my own thing and trying to come up with my own, beautiful IP and brand and everything, I find it way easier to be like second in charge and to be the one that makes the sales and the one that keeps the company going versus me trying to do all of it and have my own, IP, my own ideas, my own thoughts, my own education, me footing all the bills, that sort of thing. And I think it's such a great thing. It's, happens all the time in basketball. I wasn't a big basketball fan, but, it's like Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Jordan was the one out there that was fucking incredible, and Scottie Pippen was the one that, made him look incredible. And I think, it's probably been my biggest asset as a salesperson is being comfortable with being the Scottie Pippen, being comfortable with being the second in charge, making good money and supporting, the person that's out the front. It's almost like the backup vocalist or the guitarist in the band, unless you're or the drummer, unless you Blink 182, your drummer doesn't even get seen, but they hold together every song. It's the same as, most sales companies, you see the CEO out there or the guy that's got the vision, the girl that's got the vision, and you don't know who Alex Emosi's head salesperson is. You don't know who Russell Brunson's head salesperson is, but I bet you they're on a fucking multi-million-dollar wicket.
Yep.
And if they weren't there, Emosi might be dog shit. Brunson might be absolute shit. They wouldn't have a business that's as profitable as it is because they've hired that person that's a second in command. So that's what Entrepreneurship's that, you know, you're obviously an entrepreneur. You're consulting to them. You don't have a boss, but you're inside a company that you fucking wholeheartedly believe in. It's your company. You know, like you die on the field for it, but you don't foot the bills. You don't have to worry about the staffing, and you just get to fucking play your biggest game inside of it. Which is what I think it's like the best thing that I ever had was that, because I could have been in another company that was, you know, as I said, your average 25-year-old that figured out a few things and started to sell, and 5 years time that guy hits 30 and he's, you know, doing something completely different, or he doesn't have a big vision and he never really had anything that was worthwhile selling. He could just sell it and it was good. Whereas ours is like actually changed lives, actually amazing. And in 20, 30 years time, it'll still be sold.
Yeah. So you get to express essentially everything that an entrepreneur would, but you do it in an ecosystem where you're not necessarily the front man. You're not the one on all the posters or, right. You know, shone up in lights.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that.
I still get the decisions. I still get to see the decisions. I'm the inner workings of every single thing that goes on. I just don't need to be the face of it, man. I just don't need to, you know. I bleed for it. You know, I've worked 7 days a week, every single week for the last 5.5 years straight. Never taken a day off. There hasn't been a day where I haven't done any sort of work. But that's why I'm where I am.
But I need to add to this as well. I think there's a difference between doing work and then doing work.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that what you're doing isn't work. I'm saying you're not that guy that shows up to a cubicle and thinks, here we go again.
No, fuck no. I'm thinking, you know, how the fuck do I win today? You know, how do I make the most money today? Like, how do I show up and how do I compete today? Yeah.
And then go and play golf in the afternoon.
Yeah, or fuck, I'm done by 12 every day.
Yep.
You know, unless we're fucking behind on the scoreboard and we've got 5 days left of the month, we're going to have a negative balance, which doesn't ever happen. But, you know, there's been a few months where it's been, fuck, this is going to be hard. And then I'll just be a psycho. Then I'll have like a 1 hour, 2 hour nap in the middle of the day from calling Americans. And then I'll get into Aussies and UK and go again until we make it. So like that, yeah. But normally I reckon we only really have a 90 minute period of amazing work. So my first 90 minutes is a fucking psycho. I'm texting all my follow-ups in the morning. I'm calling as hard as I can outbound. My bookings are normally then I'll have, you know, a 20-minute break, talk to Mia, have coffee with her, have a smoothie, come back into it, smash it again. And then I'm done. 12, 1 o'clock every single day. I'll be walking my dogs, not in the office anymore.
That was something that you actually said, because in the Australian time zone, just for reference, what is it? 7 a.m. is 1 p.m. Pacific at the moment.
Yeah, correct.
So we hit US afternoons and evenings. So what I was doing is I was starting usually 6 most days, sometimes a little bit earlier if I have to, but I was going from 6 until probably about 10 or 11, and that was US. UK stuff was the earliest. And then I would fill that up until about 12 o'clock, then go to jiu-jitsu for a couple of hours, 2-3 hours in the middle of the day. And then I'll come back and try and do more in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And what I realized, the work that I did in the afternoon sucked. I wasn't creative. I couldn't think through things. I didn't have as much intent in everything that I was doing. And what I realized is mornings is where I get all of the big levers done. And then afternoons, like, I don't want to sit around and do nothing, but I also don't want to be stuck in here all day. Yeah. So that's pull the laptop, go sit out the back, or go to a cafe, or just do some kind of admin tax, just monotonous tasks that, not monotonous, but not thought or mental capacity intensive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's, I really believe, 90 minutes a day is probably makes most of your money. Those 90 minutes where you really crush it the most, that's most of your money, and if you can extend that, it's amazing. If you can have more coffee, we were talking about it this morning with different, whatever you want to call them, performance enhancing drugs, whatever it is, to make that brain last longer. If you can get an extra hour, 2 hours a day, amazing. But the moment when the whole fucking hustle and grind mentality, I think there's a big difference between being, an implementer and a caller, you can hustle and grind. You know, you can work 8 hours a day calling, outbound calling, really you can. But when you're actually doing, you know, big needle movers and big things, and especially creative things and writing webinars and building systems and shit, if you're not on point, you're just going to create garbage.
Yeah.
So like, you need to be on point for them.
But there's the hustle and grind culture, and then there's the level of maturity. So I wrote a newsletter maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I never had a response like that. And it was basically like, how do you know when the hustle and grind is over? Because you see guys that are 18, 19, 20, 21 getting into this space, and they're like, you know, let's go, bro. Like, let's do as much as we possibly can. And if you have, like, if you don't work 10, 12 hours a day, then, you know, you're lazy, you're this, you're that. And I think there comes a point in everyone's career where you realize that, hey, I do want to finish at lunchtime, or I don't want to do 200 outbounds a day, or maybe I don't want to keep selling to broke people. I think there comes a point where you have to realize that there is effectiveness and there is actually understanding the way your brain works, the way the body works, understanding when you're at your capacity. And some people, they're not good first thing in the morning. We both are. I'm at my peak energy first thing in the morning, and that's when I get the biggest stuff done. And I know that it tapers throughout the day. But I think from your perspective, at what point did you realize that you didn't want to hustle grind 24/7?
Yeah, man, it's a good question, the hustle. So I'm training for a marathon at the moment, right? Get back into it. Tore my hammy in February. 3 months off, March, April, May. Get back on the touch field June. Register for the Sunshine Coast Marathon this weekend, August. So I'm 2 months out from a marathon. Have just come back from tearing one hamstring. Sign up Monday morning. Monday night play touch. Other hamstring goes. So I was on the couch for 3 weeks. Gets us into the first week of July. So I've had 6 weeks of getting into training for a half marathon. I'm 100 kilos, the biggest I've ever run, probably 5Ks. And I'm doing 21Ks this weekend. And so what I found with it was I fucking crushed it. I went so hard. My first week did 17Ks on the body, which was amazing. The second week I did 35Ks, ran a 10K. I felt incredible. Third week I go and smash it out, do 25Ks, run an 8K, felt phenomenal, like fucking going to shit this in. Sunday wake up and couldn't get out of bed because my body was crippled.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this thing that happens when you get into running. All of your tendons, they blow out, and you can actually do this thing that's overworking. This is where most people get to in their sales career. Most people get into in most careers. They get really burnt out. Things I could have done to avoid it: better nutrition, better hydration, way more stretching, way more pool recovery, saunas, that sort of thing, recovery, and not as much running. I should have had 2-3 days off a week, right? And so why I say that is because, so I've done 5 years straight, 5.5 years straight, whatever, how many days that is, 2,000 days nearly straight. And I haven't taken, probably it's 2,000 days, I haven't taken a day off, man. And by a day off, I mean, I haven't done under an hour's worth of work. Even on my wedding day, I still worked. Because I come from two places. One is I never want to fucking lose what I've got now, so I'll always outwork it and I'll always win. The second one is I've got a team, man, and if our calls are posted every single day, and if Alexi's not calling on Saturday and Sunday, why the fuck would I? So I'm like one of those managers where it's like I'm on the field with you. And it comes from my sporting days. I was a great captain. You know, I captained my team to many grand finals. Fucking, we won a lot. We lost a lot. It was fun. If I wasn't doing the most meters that game, if I wasn't tackling the hardest, if I wasn't, you know, fucking crying at halftime because we're losing, if I wasn't, you know, bleeding at the end, why the fuck would they? So I feel that as a manager, if I'm not giving it my all, he's the dude that gets paid the most. Why the fuck would we give it our all if he's, you know, stopped, or if he's, so for me, it's like the difference in the sales and the running. The running, I didn't listen to my body and I didn't do any of the recovery stuff. I thought I was too good and I just wanted to beast mode it. in the sales, I really listen to my body. So if I've got to work on a Wednesday and I feel fucking drained, I'll work 2-3 hours, smash as much as I can out, and then I'll just turn my phone off and shut off for the rest of the day. And I'll go for a walk, I'll go for a run, I'll go, do whatever I need to do to get my brain back. Watch Netflix, fucking go watch sport, go be around people that have high energy, go think, go read a book, whatever it is I need to do. And then I can be back 100% the next day. Like all my sales guys, I tell them, like, we're professional athletes. We can get paid way more than a professional athlete. And I tell them this, and I'm like, you can get paid more than a professional athlete. You can but you've got to act like one. If you're not sleeping your 8 hours a night, if you're not having your fish oils, if you're not eating right, if you're fucking being a fat lazy fuck, if you can't touch your toes, if you can't run, if you're not gymming, how the fuck are you going to be a professional athlete? You're just going to get walked all over. And you can see it in people's lives, when they stop exercising, when they stop drinking water, when they start sleeping in. It's the same as, when you're managing a football team, right? If, that guy starts getting injured from nowhere and he's doing everything that looks right, there's obviously something wrong with his diet, or he's, drinking on the weekends or whatever it is. So I guess like the big thing is like to be really like aligned with your body and what works so you can hustle. But as far as it goes to like, I guess I get kicks out of calling as well. Like I get kicks out of calling 100 people a day. It's like a meditation for me almost. But I can multitask. While I'm on my auto-dialect calling, I'm building systems. I'm in SOP documents. The moment they pick up, I switch that off and I'm on complete talking, selling mode. But so I'm like multitasking, I'm getting shit done. And I really enjoy I enjoy the hardness of outbound calling. Like it's like a beep test. It's like a burpee competition. It's it's the hardest thing you can do in that realm. So it makes me feel real fucking good to complete it every single day. Like when I was playing sport, it was like, I was like the king of cardio, right? I loved running. It really, really fucking motivated me. I'd love to beat everyone at running. It was like the most fun. And so like outbound is the same for me. Like if I can whack out 100 outbound calls a day, I feel real fucking good. I'm like, fuck yeah, I put my reps in, I've done it. And now I know that if I follow that every single month, I'm going to get, I'm going to speak to 3,000. I'm going to call 3,000 people a day or a month, sorry. And from that, even if it's 10% pick up, it's still fucking 300 people are picked up. If I can't sell them this month, then either the system's broken, what we're selling is broken, or I've had a shit month. So it's like really easy for me to see what's really going on out there. I think it just froze. Dude.
Oh, we froze for a second. There we go. You're back.
You're back?
Yeah, gotcha. So you just put that really well. Yeah. Oh, hang on. I think it's still a little bit glitchy, but it'll catch up. So you just put it really well. You put it really well. And I think one thing is the character building of actually doing a ton of outbound dials. I don't think there's anything else that matches it. And it sucks. It sucks when you first start. It's so hard. It's exhausting. You don't want to do it. You can't be bothered. You're worried about what people are going to say when they pick up or anything like that. But there's no way around it.
Yeah, well, it's the game, It's like, how do you become a beast at sport if you don't do the reps? How do you get strong in the gym if you don't bench press? How do you get fucking fast if you don't run? How can you run a marathon if you don't run? It's just one of those things, the easiest way to success is like doing what most people won't fucking do. Especially like as a junior sales rep. If you're new to a company and they normally hire, within 3s or 5s, if you can outcall those other fucking 3 to 5 people, by the end of the 30 days, you will most likely have the job. Because what I hire for now is not the skill, not the talent, it's the fucking mongrel. Like I'll hire someone that might not make a sale their first month, but they call 200 leads a day, 7 days a week, and they're texting me, fucking hell, man, this is pissing me off. I can't fucking make a sale. I'm so angry. I'll hire that person over the person that's like, the KPI is 100. They'll call 102 every single day. They'll work 5 days a week. They might sell 2 or 3 people. I don't really want to deal with that person. They're not going to go above and beyond for me. They're not going to be on the football field with me smashing it. Like I'd much prefer the one that's got the mongrel, because you can't coach that. You can't coach You know,
Mm.
we call it the PhD. PhD, you can't coach, which is poor, hungry, and desperate.
Mm.
You can't coach that, man. You
Mm.
can't coach it. So it's one of those things that's just naturally in their instinct to do.
There was, I remember I was on one team and outbound was required, and you had to hit. I was obscene. I did so. There's only one guy that did more dials than me, and he's actually a good friend of mine. And we get in a competition, but he would, majority of the time, he would beat me because maybe it was the markets that we were calling. I would end up on more cold calls that turned into sales calls than he would, but his
Yeah.
numbers were crazy. But then there was this other guy in the team. He started and his numbers just skyrocketed so fast. And he didn't catch us, but he was close because there was such a gap between us and the rest. And we couldn't figure out why. And it wasn't until I was just about to leave that company. I'm like, I'm going to have a look at his numbers. What he would do is it didn't look at duration of calls at all. So he would do single dial, double dial, and then just onto the next one, onto the next one. He was chasing those numbers. His sales were trash, but his cold call numbers were massive. And apparently he was doing that for about 2 years after. Wow. And then I had a friend from that company ring me maybe 3 or 4 months ago. He got fired because he was actually working another job.
Wow.
And getting a base at the same time as this company, and like running multiple offices is very different than being employed by 2 companies full time simultaneously.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but look, I've got one more question for you.
Yeah.
So if you were talking to someone that was in that position of, I want to make this work, I want this to happen, I want to be able to have a position in my life where I don't really want for anything, and I want to be happy in what I do. And I know that's a very long, very difficult list, but what would you say to someone that was at that point you were 5.5 years ago?
Fuck, it's pretty deep. Money solves everything, hey? With money you can solve most things. So like the first thing is like, I think when you're brand new in society right now, you go and make 100K and put it in a bank account. Get insurances. Like you should have, personal insurance in case you fuck out, in case anything happens. You should have that. You should have insurance on yourself. Should have 100K in a fuck you fund. So if anything happens to you, you get fired, fucking divorce, whatever happens, you got 100K in a fund, right? So that it's just untouchable. It might be in, a bank account in your parents' name, and you have to talk to your mum to get the money out of it, whatever it is. I think you should have that. So you're really set up to be unfuckable. Anti-Fragile is a really good book to read about that. It's a really good one. From there, it's like, once you've got the money, it's like do anything except for like lie, cheat, sell drugs, manipulate to get there. Like don't go and sell fucking stupid courses and be a fuckwit. Like still sell something that's hardy and don't manipulate people because you can. Still do it the right way. And then it's like create your perfect day. I think that's like the biggest thing I learned was like, what is your perfect day? Because we can manufacture happiness. Like happiness is weird. Me and you can both be sitting in the same podcast and you can be like, fuck, this is boring. And I'm like, fuck, this is incredible. Or we can be, doing the same sales calls for the day. And I'm like, fuck, these sales calls never end. And you're like, holy fuck, this is so amazing that I've got sales calls. So it's like, you look at what actually makes you happy. So for me, it's like competing. It's like being around good people that have good energy. It's being super healthy and it's learning. So like, as long as I'm doing those 4 things a day, it's fuck, I'm sweet. So how easy is it to manufacture that? I'm competing. I get to call more people than anyone else and beat them on the scoreboard. I'm learning. I'm always reading books. I'm around good people all the time because I put myself in those shoes and I love to, play sport and watch sport. So I just watch sport every week. So it's like, as long as I can do that, it's a pretty easy life to live. But first, I think the first thing you can do is just fucking outwork anyone and make money. Like at the moment, you'll sleep better when you got 100K in the bank. You'll sell better when you got 100K in the bank. You'll make smarter decisions when you got 100K in the bank. You'll respect yourself more. I think that's like the very first thing is just like go all in. And it doesn't matter how you get there, because after that 100K is when you'll really know yourself and know what you want, and then you'll be able to create exactly what matters. I think that's like the key. and
Mm.
live frugal. Live frugal is like a really big thing to get to that 100K. Like, I think my first tax year, I think I put like in sales was like 180K. And you want to know how much my first car was that I bought? 180K I made.
How much?
I bought a fucking $9,500 Mercedes 2006 fucking, what was it? M250. Dream car at that stage. They normally sold about 15K. I got them down to 10K. And then we figured out that the aircon and a few other things didn't work. I bought that car for $6,500 and it lasted me 2 years. And I fucking loved it. So I made 180K and spent $6,500 on a car, while dudes that I managed were making 100 with a fucking $80,000 car.
Yep.
So that's a big thing when you're first into sales and you're brand new to it. Don't get caught up in the hype and the bullshit. Save it and live as frugal as you can, because it'll make as a sales rep making great money, you should only have to work 5, max 10 years, and you should be set up for life. You shouldn't have to do this for the next 30, 40 years of your life if you set up right and you don't go and spend it and be an idiot.
What you said about living frugally, I've been in the teams where it's the watches, the cars, the suits, it's everything.
Yeah.
That's hollow. That's hollow, and you get back and you look at how much you've spent on shit that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that is the differentiator between making the money work for you, as in actually investing it, putting in a bank account. Doesn't matter. What is Warren Buffett? Compound interest is how many wonders of the world are there? 6, 7, 5?
7th. It's a 7th. Yeah.
Oh, it's 8th, a 7th wonder of the world. It doesn't matter. Just put it somewhere. And someone told me about the Fuck You Fund probably 5 or so years ago. Changed everything.
Yeah, it's the key, man. You as I said, you sleep better. You make better decisions. You're not coming from a place of lack and scarcity. It's, what do I actually want? You know, what actually matters to me. Yeah. Amazing.
Well, look, good to have you on. I'm sure we'll probably have some more. We'll get into some more specifics.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
No, this was good.
Epic, bro.